we're going to discuss the subject of Ta'anit. What happened is there are different categories of fast day. There is a fast day that a person accepts upon himself voluntarily. An example, a guy, it's a bad dream. He saw that the next day he's supposed to fly to Boston and the plane crashed and he feels horrible and he wants to fast. So there is a category in Halakha, it's called Ta'anit Yachid, individual fast day. There is a Ta'anit Tzibur, public fast day. But we explained many times there are different categories of public fast day. We have the Yom Kippur, which is biblical, the only biblical, full day. Then we have the other 5. And out of the 5, the one is the full day is Tisha B'Av, the 9 of Av, the first of the first or second destruction of Beit HaMikdash and other reasons. So that's called a public fast day. But within the frame of a public fast day, there are many questions involved. Here's an example. A fellow needs to fast, let's say, the fast of Esther, or the fast of Gedalia, fast of 17 of Tammuz that comes soon. And the fast time begins, for example, just for the sake of understanding, let's say 5 in the morning. So the guy wants to wake up at 4:30 and eat breakfast. Is that okay or not? And if yes, how should a person do that? He need to specify it or not? Another question is, what happens if during the fast a person have all kind of emergency? Can we borrow a fast, which means you commit yourself to a fast day and then someone invited you for a brit and you want to eat there, and then can you postpone and then take that responsibility for another day? Can accepting upon yourself a fast and things turn around and change, does that mean that you can stop, or what condition if you can stop and how? So here we are on page 12. Amar Rav Chizda, Hada Amrat mit'anin leshaot v'hu shelo ta'am klum ad ha'erev. Rav Chizda said that the halakha is a person can fast for several hours, provided that one took a fast of a few hours upon himself, and that he fasted, did not take anything until the evening. So Rashi here, I'm using today a lot my book, Birak Klomar on Rashi, because Rashi here said, Klomar, Lo amru b'mit'aneh she'achal bo bayom. So here, the question is, based on Beit Yosef or Chaim Tafkuf Samech Bet, the question is, if a person accepts upon himself to fast only from the middle of the day, so, and then, is that considering a fast? So, for example, if a person accepts upon himself X amount of hours, or in the middle of the day, or he makes some changes, you know what happened, we are now, for example, in the summertime, we live in Florida or in Arizona, and it's very hot outside, you figure it out that it's overwhelming, etc. Amar le Abaye, ha-ta'anit me'aliyatahi. This is a perfect ta'anit, which means a person accepts upon himself to fast for half of the day, and then he continue on and fast all night. So trace a situation, a person's did not eat breakfast, but he didn't think much, he just didn't eat breakfast. Now he is 11 o'clock, he decided, okay, today I'm going to fast. So we're counting, according to this view, those hours that you fast without those thoughts as an act of fasting. So, and what is exactly involved here? As you know, there is a special prayer, it's called Aneinu. Answer us, Hashem, answer us. This prayer, a person needs to commit himself and express a day before, soon you see how. And then during the fast, in Mincha, he needs to say it clearly, incorporate that prayer within the afternoon prayer. So here, this is something new that we are about to learn. It's called the definition of mit'anim leshaot. The person can fast for certain hours, but the only idea is, according to the way Rashi explained it, that's the way I think he used the word klomar, it means that it does not have full intent. It was not, it's called in the Vrit kavanah lo mushlemet, which means the thought is good, but the thought, it's not a commitment. For example, in Pesach, as you know, it's enough for a person to annul any chametz from his meats, and it's over. In the common fast day, it's different story. A person can accept upon himself, take the responsibility upon himself, but it still has to be in a very clear way. The intent himself, so lo tzricha the imlach imluchei. And again, I'm using my book. Rashi here said, "Klomar lo hayta b'da'ato litanot klal." So it means that up to the chatzot, up to the middle of the day, the person that he just didn't eat breakfast, but didn't meant to fast that day, and then he changed his mind. That's basically the way that the Ramban and the Rosh and others hold. So let's understand where we are here. A person have a half a day. He fasts without a serious thought of fasting. Then he made up his mind, I want to fast today. So what do? So according to Rav Chisda agreed, and he basically agreed with Abaye that if he commit himself in the middle of the day, that's called a total fast day. But the big question is, when exactly that happened? It's called Ta'anit Sha'ot. According to Rav Chisda, if it happens in a total unintentional situation, those hours earlier time are not considering as an act part of the fast. And you see it a lot of times. A friend of mine, I just went to Israel, so a friend of mine told me he is a Yahseit, so they don't eat on Pesach gebrocht. You know, you know, it was a family that half Hasidic, half Litvaks, and in their minhag was to eat shruya on Pesach, which means it's a matzah that combined indirectly or directly in somehow with other liquid materials. And the fellow, when his wife was about to deliver the baby girl, and she had a very hard time in a hospital and everything, so the guy said to his wife, let's commit ourselves to something, and she figured out that from now on she's not going to eat shruya. So that was the commitment she made at the delivery room. No. So that beautiful daughter was born in Pesach, and the family figured out that that commitment was that for that year, was not for the future, just for that year. So next year they went back to old business and they ate shruya, like that's their minhag. All of a sudden, that girl, about 18 years later, engaged with a fellow who was a very, very Hasidic family, and for their family it's like huge violation to eat shruya on Pesach. So, so the father reminded the mother, you know what, we got to make up our minds. We want to have this new son-in-law come to us for Pesach. So she reminded him that 18 years earlier, they already made that commitment for 1 year. Anyway, you see that people can change. ואמר רב חיסדא, כל תענית שלא שקעה עליו חמה, לאו שמי תענית. So he holds that the concept of fast has to be full day, not part. So if a person fasts and the sun is not set yet and he somehow stopped that fast, that's not considering a total fast day. So you see here a very important 4 points we achieved so far. Number 1, the idea of Rashi, but we go step by step. A person accept upon himself mi be'od yom, before the sunset, that tomorrow I'm going to fast. If you look at the Sidurim, if you see, for example, in our arts called Sidurim, you see that the person accept upon himself tomorrow I'm going to fast. So, but his commitment was what? He said specifically that commitment will start from Chatzot and onward, which means he decided tomorrow I'm going to fast from, for our understanding, from, let's say, 1:30, which is Chatzot, for example, up to the sunset. And the next day, he made up his mind that no, I'm not going to eat all day. Okay? So that's one category. Second category, a person commit himself to fast up to the middle of the day, which means tomorrow I'm going to fast from the sunrise up to 1:30. And then the Rosh tells us he made up his mind that he's going to fast the entire day. So according to Rav Chisda, it's not considering a fast day because it's not even Ta'anit Sha'ot, it's not even a fast for hours. The third point of view is if a person ate at the beginning of the day and then he commit himself to fast at the rest of the day until the end. So that's called Ta'anit Sha'ot. The fourth category is regardless if he ate at the beginning of the day and then he fasted to the end, or if he fasted at the beginning of the day and ate at the end, that according to Tosfot in Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 34, that considering a Ta'anit Sha'ot, a fast for hours. Now, why is that important? We hold that the prayer Aneinu, the prayer answer as God answer, applied to a person who commit himself for full fast day. Now, the rabbis, the Rosh, tells us that, guess what? If you commit himself for part of the day, it's still considering a fast, act of fast, an act of commitment of fast. Meitivei. So now we challenge that. And Shem Mishmal, if you remember in the past several days, we talk about special act of fast when there's no rain. And when there's no rain, there is a commitment upon the leadership, which is the priesthood, the Levites, and they serve in the Beit HaMikdash. So those people, if they are in charge, they have their shift at that time, they have to fast mit'anin velo mashlimim, which means they have to fast but not the full day. As a side note, the prophet divided the Kohanim and the Leviim to 24 mishmarot, 24 group. And the Kohanim and Leviim went to Beit HaMikdash, to Yerushalayim, to do it once a week. So here we apply to that specific. Why? Because they are very occupied with the work needed in Beit HaMikdash, in the temple. If they fast full day, they will be very weak and they will not be able to provide the proper services, which means here the text used the word mit'aneh, which means the person who commit himself to fast and his act accepted as a fasting day. Now here we derive a very important point, that these Kohanim and Leviim even did not complete a full fast day. They just did it for a couple of hours. It's already considering an act of fast, and that contradicted what Rav Chisda said earlier, that as long as the person not completed the entire day, it's not considering an act of halachic correct fast day. So the Gemara responds and said, Hatam letza'urei nafshei be'almahu. That's a very important concept. We just learned not long ago about Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was in the palace with Pharaoh and he can stay there idly and not bother with people, yet he went out, and as a caring person he went to the community and to see what's going on and interfere with the life of the Jewish slaves in Egypt at that time. Here you see by comparison the same idea, that the people who are leaders, the Kohanim and Leviim who are in service in Beit HaMikdash, they cannot stay away from the public while people are fasting and in the great sorrow. they have to partake with that. So they just want to show that they are sharing their responsibility with everyone else, but it's not considering, as far as the prayer, anenu, special prayer, that's not part of the act of ta'anit, and again, it's not considering as something that is obligatory, and therefore those Kohanim and Leviyim, whenever they wish to eat, they can go ahead and eat. תן שמע, דאמר רבי אליעזר ברבי צדוק, אני מבני בניו של שנאיו בן לבנימין. So Tosfot remind us that that's basically Sna'a, that the families that came from Babylon. So when they returned from Babylon and they built the Beit HaMikdash by the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah, Ezra the scribe, Nehemiah the administrator, they have a great need for wood. Those who remind our history session, unlike the first Beit HaMikdash that Solomon built, it's a beautiful, fancy building, the second one came from the poor people who are basically immigrated or returned to land of Israel, and therefore the first stage of that building was wood made. The same applied to the altar made in wood. Later on, we all know that Herod came in and he renovated the building, etc. But at the first stage, it was wood. So it was 9 families that commit themselves to pay for the expenses of that altar, and that was basically made by lottery, the way that they chose. The condition was that if in the future they need money for that wood part, those 9 families allowed to do it only once a year, in that specific day in the first year, and that day called Korban Etzim, the bringing wood part. Now that family, because again, if you circle around the 24 and you go by the days, you have that day left. So that family, the Sna family, the day turned to be the 10th of Av. Therefore, that family made it as an act of celebration, because you recognize, everyone knows that you are the giver, etc. So they made that day 10th of Av. Now the Yerushalmi said, even after the destruction of Beit HaMikdash, that day is a celebratory day, which means it turns that the era of the Second Temple did not fast on Tisha B'Av. The truth is, they don't want to impose upon us, but the final stage of the burning of the temple was the next day, which is the 10th of Av. Anyway, now, with that in mind, so there are that's now a family who are descendants of the tribe of Benjamin. So and they bring that wood offering. ופעם אחת חל תשעה באב להיות בשבת ודחינו. One time occurred that the fast of Tisha B'Av happened to be on Shabbat, and they postponed the fast לאחר התענית, which means the 10 of Av, והתעננו בו ולא השלמנו מפני שיום טוב שלנו. We fast on that day and we not completed because it's the day of a festival, which means, according to Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Tzadok, they use the word v'it'anenu, we fast, even did not complete the fast day. So how do you prove what Rav Chisda said, that if a person not complete the whole day, it's not considering a fast day? Imagine nowadays, just for a moment, if Tisha B'Av occurred and is a Brit Milah. So what do you do? So you can bring a source from here. Hatam nami letzaure.
Postpone it to the 10th.
But here letzaure nafsha be'almau. They again go the same idea that at that time they wanted to partake of all the others. They want to show their sorrow. The Yerushalmi said that their fast day, their festival, the Yom Tov, continue even after the destruction of Beit HaMikdash. You see that there are those who are such a level of piety that they want to show that they are part of the community, and then they fast even they don't have to. I was in Israel, and it was Yortzeit, 4 years for Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, may rest in peace. I have a privilege to know him personally. He was one of the former Sephardic chief rabbis of Israel. So his shamis said that once they went to England, and they made a big Shabbat for the Rabbi Eliyahu. And Friday night they're sitting at a huge table, and the fellow, Rabbi Eliyahu, said to him in Arabic, eat your fish. So he said, I'm not going to start before the Rav start. He says, no, eat. So once, twice, 3 times he ate half of the fish with salmon or whatever it is. And then the rabbi said to him in Arabic, can we switch plates? So he says, no one see us, let's switch plates. So they switched plates. And he said, eat. So he ate. Eat more, fine. They pick up the plates, and he said to him, Rabbi, you don't eat anything. He says, don't worry, I ate something. Soup, the same story. Meat, the same story. They went back to the hotel. So he said to Rabbi Eliyahu, what's going on? He says, look, I don't say it's not kosher, you can eat, and you're fine. But he said, for me, I personally have a problem to eat any place out of my home. He said that I don't know who are the people in the kitchen, who prepare the food, what exactly they do, how they do things. I see he is the caterer, and the caterer here using a lot of people who are not Jewish and who just came to help in the kitchen. I don't know how they do things. So to say it's kosher for you, you can eat, and I don't want to embarrass them, so I want to appear I'm eating. Anyway, there are acts of piety that some people does just to show a good faith to everyone else. Tashmad, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ehe בתענית עד שתבוא לביתי. If a person said, okay, I'm now, let's say, in 2 hours before I reach my home, so I'm now going to fast for 2-3 hours. He called it already Ta'anit, act of fast. Even when he gets to his house, he's going to eat. So again, all of that disputed Rav Chizda that said that you have to eat for the entire day. So Gemara said, "Hatam leshamut nafshe mibein nesiya udeavad." What happened is the nasi, the head of the community, asked him to eat, and Rabbi Yochanan said it in order for the nasi. He didn't want to eat there, but didn't want to embarrass him, so he wanted the nasi to think that he is in the act of fasts. But the truth is, it's not considering a serious vow. אמר שמואל כל תענית שלו קיבל עליו בעוד יום לאו שמי תענית. The book of Yoel, Joel, chapter 2, the text said, Kadshut tzom, you have to accept and sanctify the fast. So he said, any act of fast that a person did not accept upon himself day in advance, it's not considering an act of fast. The big question is how you go about to do it. Do you need to accept in your heart, or you need to express it in a clear word? It's a discussion. So the Gemara said, Ve'i yativ mai. If he sat and fast and did not accept it upon himself before the sunset, did he fulfill his obligation or not? Amar Bar Shila, Damel de la mapucha, de malya zika. So he said it's like to a bellows that is full of air, which means this act, this behavior does not constitute a fast. It's it's container full of air without food. So he tried to say that it's meaningless. So again, we here differentiate between a fast for hours or a fast for a day. Mat mekabel, when exactly the person needs to accept upon himself the act of fast. Rav Amar bemincha. So it means, there's a big question, what does that mean? According to Rabbeinu Gershom, it means mincha ktana, which is the late afternoon. Shar Tziyun hold, following Rashi, that it's mincha gdola, which means from the 6.5 hours of the day. The Ritva and the Ran said he can do it several days in advance. But the key is, as long as he said, I'm tomorrow in the afternoon during the day, tomorrow I'm going to fast, that's it. Ushmuel amar bitfilat hamincha. So he said, during the afternoon prayer, at the end of the prayer, he concluded with the word of appeasing, and he said, tomorrow I'm going to fast. So it's like when the rabbis tells us that fast is like an offering. So when a person have an offering, he need to do hakdasha, he need to sanctify his offering a day in advance. So, for example, he said, Harei zo la, Harei zo chatat. He expressed it clearly in advance. But the Avad in Mishnah Berurah said that it's okay, but not lechatchila. Amar Rav Yosef kvatei de Shmuel mistabra, dichti b'mgilat ta'anit, lahen kol inish deyete Eloi mekadmat dena yeisar. It was a list, I explained several times, a list of days that it was a celebration day that made in that time. The rabbi stopped it. The only two left is Chanukah and Purim as celebratory days. But in that list, it said that anyone that accept upon himself an act of fast can be earlier before that. He continue. In other words, he should not stop if it's part of the series of fasts. So my love, yeiser atzmo bitzlu. So what is the case? That he bind himself to the obligation at the time of the mincha prayer, as if he did not do so at that point in time, his fast does not go into effect. So they say lo ye'aser atzmo. He shall render himself prohibited from doing it. Plige beha Rabbi Chia veRabbi Shimon barabi. Chad amar yeisar, vechad amar ye'aser. So here is disputation between them. The one of them said that the Megillat Taanit reads he should be bound, and the other said he will be prohibited. You see here in the Hebrew, it's different when you said yeisar or ye'aser without another one. Man de amar yeisar kede amrinan, which means by accepting upon himself in mincha. The man de amar ye'aser maihi kede tanya. Megillat Taanit kon einesh deyete aloi mekadma dena. We said anyone that accept upon himself any act of fast ye'aser keitzad. So Rashi here in my book, I elaborate a lot. I just give you the vignette. Rashi said maihi. How exactly happened. So basically Rashi have here a discussion, as we said, first the exact timing. Is that applied to the specific prayer of mincha or not? So he said, Yachid shekibel alav sheni chamishi vesheni shel kol hashana kula. Person commit himself to fast every Monday and Thursday and the following Monday, the entire year. והראו בם ימים טובים הכתובים במגילת תענית, and all of a sudden part of his schedule, part of his calendar turned to be a fast day that was on at that time. At that time, I have a list of celebratory days. So, אם נדרו קודם לגזירתנו, if it was before our decree that the rabbis made to have those days as festive days, יבטל את נדרו קודם גזירתנו. You have to fast because it's already set up in advance. ואם גזירתנו קודמת לנדרו, if he commit himself to fast by that preceding our list of celebratory days, תבטל גזירתנו את נדרו. So therefore that day is abrogated and it's total annul and doesn't have to follow with the fasts. תנו רבנן, עד מתי אוכל ושותה? So here we speak not about תשעה באב or Yom Kippur. We speak about other fast days. For example, the upcoming 17th of Tammuz. Okay? So the question is, up to what time a person can eat? עד שיעלה עמוד השחר דברי רבי. So according to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, it's until the dawn. Until dawn. רבי אליעזר ברבי שמעון אומר עד קריאת הגבר. He said until the call of the rooster, which is before dawn. So Rashi differentiate between the first and the, if you hear that sound of the rooster, there is a different time. Once, twice, third time. Anyway. אמר אביי לא שנו אלא בשלו גמר סעודתו, אבל גמר סעודתו אינו אוכל. Abaye said the whole idea that you're allowed to eat until morning applies to a person not complete his seudah, his meal. But if he complete his meal, that's done. So imagine you have a supper, dinner, and you ate at the 16th of Tammuz. You complete your dinner at, for example, 8 o'clock in the evening. So according to that view, it's done. You cannot eat afterward. That's one view. Soon you see that there is a discussion. It's not so simple. Eitivei Rabba, Gamar ve'amad arei ze ochel. He completed his meal. He did a blessing, grace after meal. And now he wants to eat. It happened? Yes. There are people who need, for some reason, to eat constantly, right? So, you ever been on those cruise, Kat? They're eating 5-6 times a day and it's not enough in every floor. So they said, Hatam, the Gemara said, Beshelo silek. So, in the era of the Mishnah and the Talmud, they have a large tables and they study on those tables. But to eat, they sat on the floor, very similar to the Japanese, right? And everyone has a small, tiny table. They ate, and then they remove it. We studied it in Pesachim, page 116b. So here, since you see the food on the table, right? So it means he continued to, his mind is to continue eating. Right? You have a low, I saw it in Muncie the other day. They have kosher Japanese place that they really do it in an old fashion. They sit on the floor or almost floor and they have those old ancient lights, etc. So imagine the fellow have a big plate of tempura and sushi and all the kind of stuff. He ate a little and he left the whole plate. It means that his intent is what? To come back and complete the meal. And it's not a new one. Guess what? If he left for what? He left for studies, he left for other reasons, to do some work, and he comes back, now he wants to eat, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, he can do that. But if he falls asleep, then it's over. So imagine a guy, he's sitting there at 7 o'clock, he ate 2 slices of sushi, and he went to sleep, according to this view, it's over. Now, again, you have to remember the mindset. We are not yet in the final halachot. We're yet only in the discussion before the final. If he slept and he wake up, he can eat. My future son-in-law told me, he is in the special forces of paratroopers, so he told me that they're sleeping like in our times while they're standing sometimes. Anyway, so they said hatam bemitnamnem. So someone who's dozing, he's not really sleeping, so therefore it's not considering a hefsek, a stop, and he can return and eat. Hechedam bemitnamnem. What do you mean by that? Dozing. Amar Rav Ashi, Chisda said, 12b, nim lo nim, tir lo tir. Sleep, but not fully asleep, awake, but not fully awake. Oh. So, Tosfot said that that's at the beginning of the time of rest. That he is like dozing, but he's not totally asleep. There are other views. Rashi disagreed, but I meant later Tosfot backed out and followed Rashi, and they differentiate between the beginning or the late part of the sleep time. But here they give a beautiful definition, and they said, "Dekaru lei ve'anei velo yada adur esvara." If you call him, he answer, right? But if you ask him something that need an answer, for example, where did you put that utensil? Right? He doesn't know how to answer. V'chi madkale midka. But if they reminded him, do you put the pot over there in the dining room? If he said yes or not. So again, this is the different definition of the mindset. So let's see a little bit halachot here. Maran, Mechaber, the code, he rules the same as the Rif, that it's all depend upon the tnai, the condition that the person made in advance. The Yerushalmi said that the condition is good if you made it before you go to sleep.
You planned away.
Yeah, planned away. The Remar of Moshe Weisblum said that in the water you don't need to have a tnai, you don't need to have a conditions, but Mishnah Berurah rules that even for water you should make it tnai, you should make it preconditions. So you see here in Ta'anit Yachid, in a private fast day or Ta'anit Tzibur, everything needs to be said clearly before you go to sleep. But that's not applied to Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. We're talking about so far fast that start when the sun rises. Amar Rav Kahana Amar Rav, Yachid shekibel alav ta'anit, asur b'neilat hasandal. If one person is individual, accept upon himself an act of fast, and he did not say that this is the same as a public fast day or a individual fast day. So at that day, as you know, on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, we are prohibited from wearing a leather shoes. So he hold Chayshin Anshem Ta'anit Tzibur Kibel Alav. Since he did not specify what type of fast he take upon himself, and therefore it may happen that he accept upon himself the category of a public fast day. Heichel li'avad, what should they? Amarabba barav shila leimahachi. Now they give us a very clear instruction how to do it. Lemachar, which means today at mincha. A person said for tomorrow, ehelefanecha beta'anit yachid. So he said, tomorrow I shall be before you, meaning God, in the observance of an individual fast. Good morning. אמרו לרבנן לרב ששת. Now you see a interesting situation, the difference between diaspora and the other places. So Rabbanan, the sages said to Rav Sheshet, Ha kacha zinan Rabbanan de mesaimei mesaimyu. We seize rabbis, the sages, that they wearing a leather shoe on a public fast day, ve'atu levei ta'anita, and they come and to pray in a synagogue. Now, as we said earlier, that is a special fast made in Israel, for example, for no rain. So it's in a stages. So the one explains that one of the stages is not wearing a leather shoes. So ikpad v'amar lo dilma meichal na me'achul. So he meant to say in a very sarcastic manner that they said that since they don't care of wearing leather shoes, these people don't care to eat, and they disassociate themselves from the community. Now, Abaye v'Rava have the tradition to enter the synagogue on the public fast day, ki mesaimei apanta, which means that they're wearing shoes that have no heel. And again, this is according to Sfot and Panta, it's one that has no corner, which means it's an act of mourning. Mereimar umarzutra mechalfei dimina lismala usmala limina. So they want to show that they are part of the act of fasting. So what they do, they switched their shoes. They wore the right shoes on the left, and the left shoes on the right. Rabbanan de Rav Ashi, good morning. Nafkei ki orchayu. They used to go on a public fast day a regular way. Savrei ki ha דאמר שמואל אין תענית ציבור בבבל אלא תשעה באב בלבד. What happened is in Babylon they have is no nasi, is no leadership, so they do not have the power to make a public fast day. So only Tisha B'Av, that's the only fast day that applies to everyone. So this is important halacha. You accept upon yourself a fast day, and then all of a sudden something happened. So you can, for example, you invited to a bris, you invited to a wedding, and you need to eat. So you can postpone it. Can be either positively because it's a brit, or negatively you cannot make it. It's, for example, the temperature outside is overwhelmingly hot. So you can do it later, uporea. It's like in a credit card. You can pay it later. Right? Ki amrita kamei de Shmuel amar li vechi neder kibel ale. So here the big question is, what exactly he said? He accepted upon himself as a vow. So he cannot eat and drink. De lo sagi, de lo meshalem. He needs to do it. So again, the Rif said that a person can accept upon himself a fast. He cannot eat and drink. The Rema said in Taf Kuf Nun Gimel only if he said it clearly. And you need to say it express in his mouth. He wants just to accept upon himself the sorrow, the discomfort. Now, if he can fast that day, should do it. But if he's unable, he does not need to cause himself discomfort, in which case he need not repay the fast. איכא דאמרי אמר רב יהודה אמר רב, לווה אדם תעניתו ופורע, כאמרי לה כמד שמואל אמר לי פשיטא, לא יהיה לה נדר, נדר מלא מצא לשמואל למייזר, למחר ליום האחרית, so again, he can do it later if some situation, and we compare it to act of vow. רב יהושע ברי דרבי דאיקלה לברב אסי, עבדו לעגלה טילתא. That means they brought for him a very good calf. אמר ללטעום מרמידה, אמר לו בתענית הדבינה. He said, I'm in a fast day, I cannot eat. אמר לו לאזוף מר ולפרע. So, you know what? You should borrow it, which means you eat now and later. לא סבר מר לאדם הרב יהודה אמר רב לווה אדם תעניתו ופורע. Don't you hold that a person can borrow, which means can postpone it? אמר לו תענית חלום הוא, I saw a bad dream. So I'm so aggravated, I want to fast. אמר רב אבר מחסנה, אמר רב חם בברגיו, אמר רב, יפה תענית לחלום כאש לנעורת. That's important to know. That the same way that the fire consumed the cotton, so in that analogy, if a person saw a horrible dream, he's supposed to fly and tomorrow the plane crash, God forbid, so he's so aggravated, so he fast, and that reconciled that. אמר רב חיסדא ובו ביום. So you need to do it that day, don't postpone it. אמר רב יוסף אפילו בשבת. If you saw on Friday night a bad dream, you can fast. מה התקנתי? But come on, but you're fasting on Shabbat, and it's prohibited to fast on Shabbat. Later, תעניתא לתעניתא. You need now to make a second fast day, because you fast on Shabbat. עברו אלו ולא נענו. Now we continue a discussion over עצירת גשמים. There is no rain. We passed 3 public fast day, and unfortunately, there is no rain. בית דין גוזרים 3 תעניות אחרות על הציבור. The בית דין can put a decree for another set of 3 fast days. And those are much stronger than the previous one, if you remember the previous משנה. אוכלים ושותים מבעוד יום. They can eat and drink only during the day, but not from the sunset. ואסורים במלאכה וברחיצה ובשיחה ולתלדה שלום המיטה ונועלים את המרחצאות. It says all those 5 prohibitions that we apply on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av applies to that next set of fasting day, which is eating, drinking, anointing the body, relations, and wearing a leather shoes. And they said also lack the public bath. עברו ולא נענו. בית דין גוזרים עליהם עוד 7. If it's still past those days and it's still no rain, so the beit din put a decree for another 7 fast day. שהן 13 תעניות על הציבור, that they're all together 13 act of public fast days, which is a lot upon public. Why 13? So Tosfot Yom Tov said that it's in equivalent to 13 attributes of mercy. 13 מידות. Anyway, הרי אלו יתרות על הראשונות. This one much stronger than the first 6, שבאלו מטריעים ונועלים את החנויות. Because those days you have also to warn people, and מטריעים in the general it means that they blow the shofar, or they make a out loud announcement, and they lock the stores. בשני, on Monday, matin and chashecha, they open a little bit the stores in order for people to buy the food for that day, for the completion of the fast. ובחמישי מותרים מפני כבוד השבת. And Thursday, they can totally open their stores because people need to buy things for Shabbat, for Shabbos. עברו אלו ולא נענו. If they unfortunately they have now a new season, that these 7 days people fasts and nothing happened, מעטים במשא ומתן, they reduce any type of business transactions, בבניין ובנטייה, building and planting, באירוסין ובנישואין, engagement, marriages, ובשאלת שלום בין אדם בחברו, and asking peace, meaning a law and a conversation between people, כבני אדם הנזופים למקום, like people who have been rebuked by God. and they said, יחידים, pious individuals, חוזרים ומתענים עד שיצא ניסן. They continue until it's already getting close to spring, the Nisan. But then, יצא ניסן וירדו גשמים, סימן כללה. But if Nisan, and it's a rain, it's a sign of curse. The Rambam said in Ilchot Ta'aniyot, chapter 3, that the other way, if it's Nisan and there's no rain, it's a sign of curse. שנאמר, לא קציר חיטים היום. So they said in the book of Shmuel, when he stated the famous statement of the prophet Elijah, it said, if not the wheat harvest today. So it means that the wheat harvest is around the time of Shavuot, well after Nisan. We understand all the others that involve with pleasure, that is prohibited. Washing, anointing, sexual relation. But if you tell them that they close the business, why it's sorrow? He said in the book of Joel, the first chapter, sanctify the fast, call a psalm assembly, gather the elders, like the day of assembly. Atzeret is basically the word for Shavuot in Shmini Atzeret. It's called Atzeret. How? Ma Atzeret asu b'asiyat melacha. The same way as the day of assembly, which means the festival, it is prohibited to engage in working. The same way, here, after Ta'anit, fast day, asur b'asiyat melacha, you are prohibited from engaging in working. If you compare totally to two, ma'atzeret me'orta, after Ta'anit me'orta, the same way as the fast days from the morning, and the festivals start from the from the evening. So the same way, the fast day should be in the evening, not just from the morning. אמר רבי זר לדילים פרש למינד רבי ירמיה ברבא, אמר קרא אספו זקנים, דומה אספת זקנים, the same way that elder gather. מה אספת זקנים ביום? The whole idea of gathering the elder is doing the aftzom lame bayom. It's only the day. Ve'ima mitahara. So maybe you said that that's apply only from the middle of the day. So that's the Uncle said memashesh betihara. It's based on the dvarim kafchet. So they said Amar Rav Shesha bar Avidi Mesal Ravuna Damar mitzafra kenufia. He said that the public gathering on a fast day occurred in the hours of the morning. Heiche Avdei, what did they do? Amar Rabbi mitzafra vad pag-aaral from the morning until the chatzot ma'anya de milta. So it means they need to do a self-search. They need to check if someone steals money from the other persons, if they do all kind of sins between them, between man and his fellow. So they need to do a lot of self-search. It's like act of teshuvah. Mikan va'elach, from the middle of the day and onward, riva diyom akarim besifra v'haftarta. They read something from the book and the haftarah, and according to Masechet Sofrim, so it's the Vayichal and Dirshu, the haftarah of Dirchu Hashem b'matzor, and the whole idea is the or tshuva, that people wake up their soul for the tshuva. So that's basically the reading of the Torah and the haftarah that we have on a fast day. Mikan va'elach bai rachmei. From now on, they ask for mercy from God, because Shenemar, they said, at the time of Ezra, when they accept upon himself the teshuvah, he said in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9, ויקומו למדם ויקראו בספר תורה לשם אלוקיהם, רביעית היום ורביעית מתוודים ומשתחווים להשם אלוקיהם. So they divided. Part of the day they fast, part of the day they act with a word of supplication. Maybe we'll do the other way around, which means the first one who should read the Torah after, and then the other one to search. לא סגל על הכתיב, they said in Ezra, chapter 9, ואלי יאספו כל חרד בירא אלוקי ישראל על מעל הגולה, וכתיב מנחת ערב קמתי מתענית ובשר כפי אל השם. So what happened is, he rebuked people for marry non-Jews, marry out of faith, etc. And he was a very strong language if you read it at the book of Ezra chapter 9, etc. And basically, he during the fasts he tore his garment and prayed. So it means he rebuked people for doing all kind of transgressions, and then he did all the act of ritual prayers, etc. Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 571. One may observe a fast for a few hours, provided that in practice he does not eat the entire day. How so? If one is immersed in his daily activities and does not eat in the morning and subsequently decided that he wants to fast for the remainder of the day, he is allowed to do so, and should then insert the Aneinu prayer into the Amidah. However, some rabbis hold that even one who observes a fast for only a few hours need to have taken it upon himself the previous afternoon. So if one obligates himself to fast for the first part of the day and then eats, or conversely, if he has eaten during the first part of the day and subsequently takes upon himself a fast for the rest of the day, he is not considering to be observing a fast that require the recital of the Anenu prayer. However, he is required to observe the term of his obligations. Basically, we said that kol ta'anit shelo shak'a alav chama, a fast that is not observed until the nightfall, after the appearance of 3 medium-sized stars, is not considering a fast. Consequently, if one who is fasting intends to break the fast before the time, he may not recite the Anenu prayer. The same applies to kol ta'anit shelo kibel alav mibod yom. If one did not take the obligation of an individual fast upon himself during the afternoon of the day before the proposed fast, is not considering a fast, whether the respect of the recitation of the Anenu prayer or to the fulfillment of his vows. Now, for sure, the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim in 571 elaborates on that, and he said that if an individual wishes to observe a fast, he must commit to observing the fast during the afternoon service of the previous day, which is the mincha, either during the recitation of the 16th blessing or at the conclusion of the Amidah. That's basically follow the Shmuel's opinion. Ad matay ochel v'shoteh. That's Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 570. On any fast that is observed only during the daytime, whether it is individual or communal fast, one may eat and drink all night until dawn. That's basically follow Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. However, if one falls soundly asleep, he may not eat when he wakes up unless he stipulated clearly beforehand that he will eat in the event that he awakens. If he merely does off, he is permitted to eat until morning. The Magen Avraham hold that one may drink until morning even if he falls into a sound sleep without stipulating that he will drink and will wake up, but basically follow the Ramah and most of the Rabbanim, the Aruch HaShulchan, etc. If a person does not stipulate it in advance, is a problem. Another question that we ask, it's about a person that borrow his fast and repay. If one vows to observe a fast on a particular day, but forgot his vow and ate on that day, he must refrain from eating for the remainder of the day. However, if he vowed to fast without specification of a specific day, particular date, and after beginning the fast, he forgot and ate, he is required to fast on another day, and that's Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 568.
Boyachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai